CNN. North Korea has fired a missile over Japan which Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has called the most serious and grave ever threat to the country. The missile was fired just before 6 a.m. in Japan. The launch set off warnings in the northern part of the country urging people to seek shelter. It flew over Arimo Misaki, on the northern island of Hokkaido, and broke into 3 pieces before falling into the Pacific Ocean, about 1,180 kilometers, 733 miles, off the Japanese coast. The missile was in flight for about 14 minutes, Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga said at an emergency press conference. There is no immediate report of the fallen objects and no damage to the ships and aircraft, he added. Abe told reporters he had a 40-minute phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump to discuss the missile launch. The two countries have requested an urgent meeting of the United Nations Security Council, according to Japan's ambassador to the UN, Koro Beso. CNN's Will Ripley, who is on the ground in Pyongyang, said the news had not been broadcast to people inside North Korea as of 9:45 a.m. local time. Though North Korea has been on a tear when it comes to testing missiles this year, Tuesday's test was the 14th since February. The launch was the first time North Korea has successfully fired a missile over Japan since 1998. Then, it sent a satellite launch vehicle over the country. The only other time is a failed 2009 launch of a missile which landed in the Pacific. It is a big deal that they overflew Japan, which they have carefully avoided doing for a number of years, even though it forced them to test missiles on highly lofted trajectories, and forced them to launch their satellites to the south, which is less efficient than launching to the east, due to the Earth's rotational motion, said David Wright, co-director of the Global Security Program at the Union of Concerned Scientists. This will make it more difficult for the U.S. to get Japanese support for diplomacy, unfortunately, at exactly the time when the situation is heating up. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham quickly weighed in on Twitter, calling the launch a big-time escalation of conflict. Trump admin must forcefully respond to convince North Korea their efforts to destabilize the region and world will not be allowed to mature, he said. Minutes after the missile was launched, residents in northern Japan received a text message urging them to seek shelter in a strong structure or a basement. We were awoken by sirens and messages from the government telling us to take cover, one local resident told CNN. Missile launched. Missile launched. It seems that the missile has been launched from North Korea. Please evacuate to building with strong structure or go to the basement. Missile passed. Missile passed. A minute ago, the missile seems to have passed the airspace of this area. If you find anything suspicious, please don't come close to it. Report to the police and firefighter directly. We have fully grasped the movement of the missile immediately after their launch and have been taking every possible effort to protect the lives of people, he said. It is a serious and grave threat which impairs the safety and peace of the region. But that hasn't stopped current North Korean leader Kim Jong-un from attempting to rapidly develop his country's nuclear and missile programs. Analysts say North Korea believes developing a nuclear weapon that can fit atop a missile powerful enough to reach the United States is the only way Pyongyang can deter any US-led efforts at regime change. The country has long maintained that it will only abandon its pursuit of nuclear weapons if the United States ends what Pyongyang calls the American hostile policy to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, as North Korea is officially known. Pyongyang looks at states like Iraq, where former dictator Saddam Hussein was overthrown by the United States, and Libya, the country's late leader, Muammar Gaddafi, gave up his nuclear ambitions for sanctions relief and aid, only to be toppled and killed after the U.S. intervened in the country's civil unrest, and believes that only being able to threaten the U.S. homeland with a retaliatory nuclear strike can stop American military intervention. They cross line after line in an effort to say this is the new reality and you should accept it and go easy on us, said Adam Mount, a senior fellow at the Washington-based Center for American Progress. There have been essentially 4 missiles launched in 4 days. I think that's a pretty unambiguous signal that they're no longer going to be restrained by the United States. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump is pursuing what it calls a strategy of peaceful pressure to rein in North Korea's weapons programs. The goal is to put enough diplomatic and economic pressure on Pyongyang in order to push them to the negotiating table. They're not going to volunteer to do this.